there are other ways of dealing with people, right?
I do know that, yeah, but that's no fun.
Welcome to Mojo at the Movies. I'm Eric, and joining me today is Dan, who leads our video game channel, Mojo Plays. How you doing, Dan?
That is correct. I am doing pretty good.
So we're talking video games or video game movies, because we went to go see Rampage last night.
We did.
We're going to answer the question, is Rampage the movie as violent as Rampage the video game?
I'd say it's almost more violent.
More violent? So
Yeah.
would you say that the original, so this was an arcade game back in the
arcade game.
mid-80s?
It got ported to a bunch of things. I think I played a Game Boy version
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Pretty violent. I mean, you basically had three creatures that would just go on a rampage.
It's cartoony,
Yeah.
but like one of the things is your creature eats people.
Yeah.
And that certainly happens in this movie a couple of
Sure
times.
does, eh?
So, like, which was shocking. Like, I was watching the movie and I thought, I didn't realize the movie would be as violent as it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's first of all stars The Rock. So
Stars The Rock.
We're not even sure these days if The Rock is in a movie if it's aimed at kids or action lovers, or he really kind of crosses the gamut. So
Yeah.
this movie, I think it's PG-13, but I would say it's pretty much on the more extreme side of the PG-13.
Yeah, well, like, we were talking earlier about how I feel as if some of his early scenes, when they're setting him up as a character, he's like a zookeeper who can sign with gorillas. Like
primatologist, I believe?
Primatologist,
Yeah,
exactly. And those are kind of campy and fun. And that doesn't really fit with the rest of the movie, but that's okay.
No, in fact, the movie starts with this wild scene in space.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin too much about that, but
No,
it's
exactly.
like it starts with a scary scene.
Yeah.
The scene is intense. It's like it felt a lot like, I don't know if anyone's seen Life recently.
Yeah, it did remind me of that, actually.
It was exactly Life. Like,
Yeah.
they could have just cut the scene right out. So that was like that was the biggest surprise for me going into it. I'm just like, whoa, they're not screwing around with this movie.
So in the video game, I believe you're playing from the perspective of
one of the monsters.
Of these monsters.
Smash, 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 smash.
In this, I mean, you're rooting for the rampage, at least. You want the monsters to start rampaging, but you're if anything, you're kind of so The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson, I should say, his character is best friends with George the ape, who then mutates because of
gets big.
It's called CRISPR, which is
which is a real thing.
Editing, it's genetic editing, and it creates these giant monsters, and they go on a rampage, and it's fun. I actually enjoy the rampaging, and from my perspective, I don't like in movies when there's so much action happening, but you can't see what's going on.
Right.
I feel that they got the monster aspect and the rampage aspect right in this movie.
Yes, anytime when the monsters are screwing shit up, that's awesome. It's really well done.
I especially liked the alligator, like that thing as it was climbing buildings and going through the buildings.
Super cool. All of that stuff, super well done. Like, surprisingly
it was clean.
so.
Like, it didn't seem. I reviewed Pacific Rim Uprising a couple of weeks ago, and that was my big problem, is that I really couldn't make sense of what was going on the screen.
No, it's very clear what's going on. You're like, okay, that's the monster. He's climbing up that building. He just smashed that guy. Really, like, the CGI was up and down.
Yeah.
We were saying the wolf kind of stands out as the redheaded stepchild, not exactly as good as the ape and the alligator.
Right, it felt more like late 90s CGI
not
on
as
the
great.
wolf.
But even still, the effects on the whole, pretty impressive. And like, just the smashing stuff parts are really fun.
I mean, you want to see this movie for the smash. You're not going in for the story. You're not going in maybe for The Rock. He's as charismatic as ever, although, as you pointed out,
He delivers all his lines as one-liners. That's all he basically does. The Rock, I wouldn't say he's the highlight of the movie. He works. No. He's great.
But it's very funny that
you get what you pay for.
You had mentioned that people are always talking about how he's antisocial and he doesn't like people, and he's
in the movie people are like, Davis, you don't really like people, eh? Like, why do you like animals so much more than people, Davis? And he talks 100% normally, especially for a movie character. You're like,
Rock.
I wasn't really getting that. You're just like, why do you hate people so much? You're like, I like him. He seems cool.
Quite likable.
He seems very likable. Like, a girl hits on him early in the movie, and he's like, sorry, bye. And you're just like, okay, I guess he's just not down with her. But you're not just like, oh man, he's such a misanthrope. Can't fit in with people. You almost feel like they wrote all that stuff before they secured The Rock for the role.
Right, exactly. But I did feel that he, in some ways, he almost seemed as CGI as the monsters.
Well, The Rock, let's be honest, The Rock is basically a CGI character come to life. So he's the perfect fit for the movie. I think the tagline was "Big meets bigger."
Right. Yeah.
So like they're fully aware of like how perfectly cast he is to be in a movie with giant, larger-than-life creatures, because he is a giant, larger-than-life creature.
He is, and I think that the movie wouldn't have been. I personally feel that without him, it would not have been such a great movie. That everything else worked, but he just kind of put it over the top and gave it, for the same reason that Jumanji was really successul. I mean, it didn't have the humor that Jumanji had.
Definitely not. There's plenty of humor. We should say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it is self-aware.
I think that you hit the nail on the head here. It really is. It is self-aware. They're making fun of themselves quite often.
Specifically the villains.
Yeah.
The villains really, they're comically evil. And
Malin Ackerman is like the classic 80s.
Amazing. Just evil corporate type. The movie seems to have a pretty good grasp of what it wanted to be, and I think it succeeds in doing that pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't go in there seeking any kind of intellectual stimulation. It's just good smashing fun.
I'd almost say that if you were to cut any part out of the movie, there's a part in the middle where Davis, the Rock's character, and the female lead, they both explain their tragic backstories to each other.
A lot of exposition.
And there's swelling music, and you're just like.
They also happen to be standing on the wreck.
The wreck of a plane that they just escaped, and they're just like, yeah, my brother died of cancer, and you're just like, okay, I'd like to see the ape smash.
Right, exactly. And then they do, and the Rampage is very well done. I would say it's interesting because in the video game, these characters used to be human and then mutated into monsters, and they didn't go that direction in this movie. It's a bit of a different story.
They're essentially the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've absorbed the ooze, but it's just they get much bigger than that.
Exactly.
Yeah. The funny thing is, people would be like, so does it do justice to the video game? Yeah, because the video game is just like the primary thing about the game is like it's fun to smash stuff. It's fun to smash and break stuff. Yeah. And the movie knows that it's fun to watch people smash and break stuff. So in that sense, yeah, it's a good translation of the video game, but it's like, it's like a ghost movie, could be a good representation of Pac-Man. The framework is so loose, they could have done basically anything as long as they had giant creatures smashing stuff.
So let me ask you this. If you were to put this on some kind of non-existent or existent Mojo top 10 list, what would that list be?
Movies that defied expectations. I don't think anyone expected this to be good. I mean, I know the reviews aren't great, but come on. If you just want to watch giant stuff smashing stuff, just let's go and break shit, man. That's cool. So, defied expectations. Movies that are more surprisingly violent.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it's not gory or anything like that. You're just like, I was just like, whoa, they went there. They did that.
Oh yeah, no,
so
there's a couple of splats.
A couple of splats. Couple of whoa. Those people are dead.
And so, if I were to, I think I would actually put this on maybe top 10 video game. Adapted movies. Not that it would necessarily be number one, but it wouldn't be too far down the list.
Well, I often talk about this thing that happens with video game movies where, the reason those movies don't work is because it's translating something into Chinese and then translating it back. Video games are often heavily inspired by a movie.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's Rampage was very much inspired by Godzilla and King Kong.
Right.
So those movies exist. The movies for Rampage already exist. They're called Godzilla and King Kong. Right. So you're translating that into a game, and then you translate that game back into a movie. So that's why I think video game movies generally don't work. Mm-hmm. But because that concept is so bare bones, I think it's just fine.
Yeah. Well, listen, I had a good time. Thank you, and let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
What's happening to my friend?
Are you familiar with genetic editing? Changes will be incredibly unpredictable. Increased strength,
George!
speed, agility,